Hey folks, how's it going? This is Mike, and it's Saturday afternoon. I have just a little time before I have to get ready to go to work, and I wanted to do my response for the midweek chat with James and everybody else. Hi James, hi folks, how's it going? Okay, the first topic was where do we get our information about what kind of movies we want to see or not see? And I get mine from a variety of places, and probably the first place I look is in my local newspaper, believe it or not. I'm one of these dinosaurs that still buys a newspaper every day and reads it. So every Thursday in the Champaign-Urbana News Gazette, there's an entertainment section that comes out, and they give advice about what's playing over the weekend, movies, concerts, plays, flea markets, all kinds of things you can go to. So they have a film reviewer whom I believe is local. I'm not sure, but I think he is. His name is Chuck Koplinski, and he writes reviews of films that are about to be released or starting that weekend. So I check out what he's saying about films. I don't always agree with what he says, and he doesn't always inspire me to go see something, because really I have so little time. Since I work at night and I work 6-7 nights a week, I don't have that many weekends off, and I have to be very selective about what I go see. But that's one of the first places I go. Also, my local art theater, which I've talked about many times, they have a website where they talk about all the films they've got going on, and they give links to reviews you can find on the internet, and they give previews of what they're going to be showing for weeks to come. So I spend a lot of time at that website and discovering new ideas, things to see. As far as other places online, James, you mentioned Rottentomatoescom, and I have been to that website, and I don't have any particular problem with it, but I don't spend that much time there. To me, it's just another way to get information. They do a lot of obscure kind of cult films and horror films that other people just don't mention. So if I want to get some kind of basic information, I might go to that site. As far as the ratings, scale of 1 to 10 or whatever, I don't usually pay attention to that stuff. I mean, it's interesting from the point of trivia. If somebody gives a movie 5 stars or 6 out of 10, it's interesting. It's somebody's opinion, but it doesn't necessarily influence me to either see or not see a movie. So I always try to make up my own mind. I do like to read film analysis and criticism, and a lot of the information I get about older films, classic films that I have not yet seen, or even ones that I have, and I want to read more information about them, I get from books. People like Roger Ebert and David Thompson and Pauline Kael. I really enjoy hearing what people have to say about films. Even if I don't agree with it, or they say something that I think is really off the wall or infuriating, I will. I appreciate good writing. I appreciate people who can put words together and sometimes make it funny, or at least make it interesting. And a lot of people, Pauline Kael is very insightful about films, and yeah, she just has a way of turning a phrase that few people have, and so I get a lot of information from places like that. I do go to the Internet Movie Database, spend a lot of time there. I find that one thing I like about that website is they have a section after they give the basic information about a movie, the cast and the basic plot line and all that sort of thing. Then they have a section where people, just anybody, can post a review of the film. And a lot of these people, they're pretty much like I am, and they're just giving real basic stuff and their feelings and their impressions. But some people are very insightful. And again, I don't always agree with what they say, but it's interesting for me to just get information from a whole different range of sources, and then eventually make up my own mind. And as far as, has anybody ever failed me? Well, it's very seldom that I go to see a movie at my local art theater and not enjoy what I'm seeing. But there was one that I went to see a few months back that I walked out on. I may have mentioned this in another review, and if I have, I apologize. The film is called The Ghastly Love of Johnny X, and I read the review. It had to do with it's kind of a takeoff on 1950s science fiction films with a little bit of rock and roll thrown in, and I said it had great black and white cinematography, so I thought, this is for me. I will enjoy this. So I went to see it, and I have to admit the photography was great. I agree with them on that. A lot of it took place in an old 50s diner atmosphere. It was amazing the way they recreated it. And I made it for about a half an hour and then I walked out. I just found the whole thing to be unbelievably dull and even kind of irritating. So I'm not always pleased by what I see, and even though I find a review that just see something that just seems right up my alley, I can still be disappointed. And in the same way, in this week's News Gazette, there's Chuck Koplinski did a review of the new Woody Allen film, which is called Blue Jasmine, and it stars Cate Blanchett and Alec Baldwin and Andrew Dice Clay. I can't think of who else is in it, but I'm a big Woody Allen fan, so I was reading this review, which was kind of I won't say it was negative. It was actually more positive than it was negative, but the guy was saying that this is not the best Woody Allen film ever made, but it's still better than a lot of things that are coming out. So that's enough for me to want to see it, right? And I may go and I may just have a great time watching it, but there have actually been some Woody Allen films that I've seen that I didn't like, and one that I actually walked out on. So even when it's one of my favorite directors or favorite actors, if the film doesn't grab me and pull me into it, then I will get up and leave. Okay, the film I walked out on was called Deconstructing Harry. It came out, I guess, sometime in the 1990s. I'm not sure, and I don't know. But being a Woody Allen completist, or somebody who is trying to be a completist, I will eventually, I'm sure, buy the film just to have it on the shelf. That might be a good topic for discussion. How many films, by let's say a favorite director or favorite actor, that you didn't necessarily like, even though you like the rest of their body of work, as a collector, would you still buy that film just to have it on the shelf? I'm one who probably would do that. So I'd like to hear what everybody else will say about that. Okay, the next topic is what would we like to see in a new Star Wars movie? And in a way, I have to agree with Dave Koenig, who said that he doesn't want to see anything in a new Star Wars movie because Star Wars is kind of, it's over with. Well, I don't know. I've said this before that I'm not a Star Wars fan, even though I did see the first 3 films when they came out in the theaters way back when. Loved the first one, liked the second one, did not like the third one. So I was kind of done with Star Wars, and when the 3 prequels came out, I didn't see any of them. So what I would want to see in the new film, I don't really have a strong idea, although the idea of bringing back the original cast members, I think is pretty interesting, and I would kind of like to see that. I'm kind of changing my feeling about Star Wars. I mean, I remember how exciting it was in 1977 when that film came out. Everybody loved it. I think I went to see it more than once, and I would kind of like to see it again, and maybe go through the whole series. I don't know if I want to buy them, but I might actually rent them, and then eventually expand my mind a little bit and watch the 3 prequels, just so I know what everybody's talking about. So I may do that. My feelings about Star Wars are kind of shifting a little bit, so we shall see. And anyway, the third topic is how have our tastes in TV and movies changed over the years? Well, the easy answer for that one is that for me, well, considering when I grew up, I would watch anything that moved, right? So I can't say there was any taste involved. I just plunked myself down in front of the TV and I would sit there for hours and watch whatever my parents were watching. And now I hardly watch TV at all. So I'm just totally unfamiliar with what's going on television. And like you, James, I could probably go back and live in that very comfortable black and white world with the Andy Griffith Show and the the Dick Van Dyke Show and all that stuff, and be perfectly happy. The stuff that I like to buy to collect is definitely the older stuff. And but again, I would like to experience some of the modern things that everybody's talking about. And I just, as I've said before, I'm just very pressed for time, so I have to be very selective about what I want to see, because I don't have a lot of time to kind of waste on things that I may end up not liking at all. So I guess that's my answer for that. As far as my taste in films, I guess it's pretty much the same, although it's just it's more of the same, but it's kind of expanded, right? I mean, I like to see more foreign films now, and that's something that didn't start for me until probably sometime in the 1970s. I live in a college town. The campus of the University of Illinois is a place where back in the 70s and 80s they used to show a lot of foreign films and avant-garde cult films, all kinds of really strange things, usually on weekends. You go sit in some classroom in some hard chair and watch a movie, right? Project it on the wall or the screen. And that's how I saw a lot of those movies back in the day before we had the opportunity to start collecting them. So yeah, I feel like I've grown a little bit, but I still have I do have a bias against so many new things that come out, and I'm not into the action genre, and I sometimes feel that, God, it just seems like almost every film that comes out, somehow it's morphed into an action film. You know, let's throw in as many special effects and as many explosions as we possibly can, because that seems to be what everybody wants to see, and that just doesn't excite me very much. When I went to see Star Trek Into Darkness, I saw the preview for The Lone Ranger, and I knew just after that preview that that was something I had no interest in seeing. And it's funny. The only reason I went to see Star Trek Into Darkness is because I classify myself as a Trekkie, a Star Trek fan. So I felt like I had an obligation to myself and to the whole universe of Star Trek to go see this, even though I was looking at it before I even saw it. I was looking at it as being just another action film that probably would not interest me very much. But I did read a lot of information about it, but I made sure I didn't read anything that had a spoiler, because I did not want, well, I still wanted to go through it and see whatever surprises were in store. And I'm very glad that I did it that way, because I ended up liking the film to a certain extent, and there were a couple of really great surprises, and so I'm glad I didn't spoil that for myself before I went to see it. And so I'm not sure if that really answers the question, but I guess that's all I have to say. I hope my taste in films has become a little more mature and a little more adventurous. And yeah, there's always more to see and more to learn. And okay, that's all. I'll go post this on the computer and go to work. Thanks, folks.